So last week we talked about the history of DC Comics rebooting their universe, and last week we gave a little background on their latest attempt, the New 52. Today we'll discuss the actual changes that they made to their characters and to their continuity. We're not going to go over every change because that'll take forever and I got shit to do. So instead we're just going to focus on some of the major and more controversial aspects of the New 52. The big changes they made, or didn't make. Let's dive in. So as mentioned last week, the New 52 completely started everything over again for DC. They had a new timeline and a new history, the universe itself only being about 5 years old. The first story arcs in Justice League and Action Comics essentially told the origin of the new DC universe, while all the other books took place in the present day, 5 years after Action and Justice League. Since everything was starting over again and getting a clean slate, there would of course be some changes that would upset longtime fans. These changes vary from relatively minor things in the end, like nobody being married anymore, to pretty significant character alterations that completely changes a character's history. Wonder Woman, for example, is no longer made of clay. She's the biological daughter of Queen Hippolyta and the Greek god Zeus. Catwoman is essentially given her origin from Batman Returns. So instead of being a simple burglar who dresses up like a cat after being inspired by Batman, she now dies and gets resurrected by a pack of felines. Okay. And Dick Grayson was given Tim Drake's keen detective skills and was able to deduce Batman's secret identity, while Tim Drake was made a okay athlete and below average sleuth who never figured out who Batman was and had to enter into witness protection because he ran afoul with the Penguin. Yeah, Tim Drake isn't his real name in the New 52. Oh, that reminds me. In addition to these changes to character history and personality, a lot of criticism was drawn in the beginning of the New 52 for his characterization of women. Both Catwoman and Starfire both became very over-sexualized in their first appearance in the New 52, to the point of being borderline exploitative. And Amanda Waller is now a young, thin, attractive woman instead of the middle-aged, large powerhouse she was previously. Now, of course, I think it's understandable for fans to be upset about the changes made. I'm upset about a lot of the changes myself. But you have to realize that this was a line-wide reboot. Everything got changed. Except not everything got changed. At the start of the New 52, both the Green Lantern and Batman line of comics basically kept their old continuity. Things that happened pre-Flashpoint were still part of their history. Nothing was thrown out. This is probably because that Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison were in the middle of big, long, epic runs on Green Lantern and Batman respectively. And being the chief creative officer, Johns probably had a lot of say in whether or not his continuity gets thrown out. And Grant Morrison probably got to keep his Batman Incorporated story going because he's Grant Morrison, that's why. Side note, both Johns and Morrison ended their runs in 2013, 2 years after the New 52 started. Now you're probably asking yourself, well, if Batman essentially stayed the same, why were you bitching and moaning about the changes made to Tim Drake about 10 cuts back? Well, see, here's the thing. While yes, Batman, Green Lantern, and certain other elements of pre-New 52 DC Universe remained after the relaunch, a lot of things were changed over time, some things really quickly, like they were trying to cover it up. In addition to the changes to the Batman line, like the changes to the Robins or Batman's origin going from a simple 4-part noir story to a big 11-part epic, events like the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is directly referenced in the first issue of Hawk and Dove of the New 52, were eventually retconned out of existence, explained as being just any old crisis. Also, any references to an original Teen Titans team have been completely removed from reprintings of that series and the collected editions, essentially establishing that there have only been one lineup of the Teen Titans in this current universe. In addition to certain aspects of history being inconsistent, there are a lot of characterizations that are wildly out of sync. Wonder Woman in her self-titled series is depicted as a headstrong, fierce, but loving and compassionate warrior who isn't afraid to use her words more often than her sword. The Wonder Woman as depicted in Justice League, however, really only uses her sword. And until just recently, Superman has been widely inconsistent throughout all of his books. Sometimes being depicted as the classic kind-hearted Superman, and oftentimes being depicted as a dour and depressed alien who always has his eyes glowing red and is extra aggressive to his villains. But how can this happen? How can characters be out of sync from book to book? How can history be wildly inconsistent? How can all these things happen when everything's starting over again from the beginning? We'll be discussing that in part 3 of this retrospective, where we go into the behind-the-scenes controversies of the New 52 that pretty much have come to define the relaunch just as much as some of the changes to the characters. Yeah, it's a dick move to end on a cliffhanger, but you know what? If you read comics, you should be used to cliffhangers by now. So make sure you subscribe to catch the next episode. Also, like this video and share this video. And leave comments below or on Facebook and Twitter about some of your favorite changes or your least favorite changes. I'm sure you have them. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Now, as you can imagine, over the years, as more and more stories are being told, continuity becomes very unwieldy and convoluted. Publishers are always looking for ways to streamline continuity and keep it in check. And Marvel and DC go about it in very different ways.
Yeah, well, it's a good game, but the thing is, it drags on forever. So I got bored, but now I'm playing Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. I've never played a Sly Cooper game before, and now I want to go back and play them all. Luckily, they're all on the Vita.